Holy sheez. It is 11:46 on the 20th of January 2026. I'm James Atkinson, and this is not the news. Hey, good morning, folks. I was trying to be funny, and then I didn't even laugh at my own bit. That shows where the place we've reached. Anyway, getting the day started. Got a bath running upstairs because I absolutely stink. So I need a fucking wash. See, it's not funny anymore, is it? Well, we're back with the vlog. And we're going to keep trying to get some quality footage for you people. Okay? Let's go. Had a decent wash. I'm feeling pretty good so far this morning. I think after having such a good conversation last night, I really felt like a sense of relief. The conversation that I had, you guys didn't see because I didn't video it. I was probably talking to a friend of mine for about 3 hours, and we were talking about deep and spiritual matters and things that I feel are quite good to talk about for yourself, for your soul, for your inner state of well-being, of wellness, of health, mental and physical and emotional. Hang on. I've got to do that washing up. So, today again, I'm going to try and make a good video for you guys. I've got to think about what exactly I'm going to do. Probably start off by going out to grab a cup of tea. Don't mind me, I'm just going to check my bank account. Let's see how much money I've got. Holy cow. Things really are picking up now. Getting a lot better. Mentally, emotionally, physically. A lot of the situations and relationships that were kept repeating themselves for me, I feel like I've come to a place now where I'm starting to overcome the obstacles, the blocks that previously stopped me in my tracks. And a lot of that is that the people who know me don't know the full picture, meaning they don't know the person I've been previously. They don't know all the work I've put in. They don't know all the other relationships I've developed. So it's how I would describe it is this: when you meet someone, um, you both take each other at face value, and you are playing the role of a character to some degree, um, to be a person that is appropriate for that person as they present themselves. And you don't want to reveal too much of yourself in a way that's uncomfortable for the other person. Um, because you're aiming to build up a friendship. So you start off sort of being yourself to some degree, but how much of your real self, of your full self, do you really show to everybody? It's not an easy question to answer, but I found that I can be much more honest with who I am and how I am when I'm just talking to the camera. It's much more of an unfiltered, unbiased um, partner in the conversation. Although there's no partner and there's no conversation, it's just me talking. But it's interesting to note how we're um, constantly and subtly influenced by the reactions and responses of other people, the face they do in reaction to something you say, what they say, whether they stay close to you, whether they walk away. All of these things that people do, they tell us whether they like certain behaviours of ours or not. And that sort of tames us and shapes us into being someone else because of our desire to be liked. Um, and I think at some point you have to stop wanting the approval, even of the people that are closest to you, even the people that you care about. If you know that you feel strongly about something, or you want to own the way you are without feeling ashamed of that, then you have to really stop considering what other people think. However, I do think to take into consideration to some degree what other people think is obviously what keeps us part of a functioning whole in society. It's other people's opinions shaping us all. That means we cooperate and work together efficiently and most of the time peacefully. However, I do see that sometimes going the other way, and that when other people feel too much shaped by the opinions of others, they can rebel against that, and that can actually cause more conflict, because they don't like the sense of feeling judged or an attempt at control coming from another person in relation to their behaviours. I understand all those sides to it. Um, but that's just where I've come to recently. I think the part of myself that I've been hiding away a little bit is my want to have real meaningful conversations with depth and metaphor and simile um, and to be able to really push those conversations a little bit further through the discomfort for the sake of discovering what is there. Um, I really like to do that. I have done for quite some time. Um, but I sort of felt I needed to pull back a little bit in order to not push too far, as I could see it's creating this discomfort in other people. But the issue for me is when that turns into the other person's like personal distaste or dislike of me, then I have to. Then I feel I have to um, sort of remind myself and others of the merits of having those conversations and going to those uncomfortable places. I think what it is there seems to be a number of people that they have this basic feeling or this basic thought that no one should be made to feel uncomfortable, and if you feel another person has in any way made you feel uncomfortable, you are rightfully you are sort of rightfully against them in some way. Um, I'm not like that personally. I think I've said something similar before. Uncomfortable situations for me and uncomfortable conversations, I actually very much embrace and appreciate because it doesn't happen very often. Um, I'm quite lucky to live quite a comfortable life, and what that discomfort tells me is telling me something about myself. It's showing me what I need to look at. It's showing me what I need to think about or talk about or address. Um, and it's also that feeling of discomfort is also just the felt sense of what 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 emotions, what feelings, what thoughts are being brought up in order for them to be able to be progressed or changed or to be able to go forward into something better. So for me, like a lot of growth, personal growth, is found in the uncomfortable moments and the uncomfortable conversations. Um, but I really like to test myself to see how far I can go in terms of finding new depths of thought, of feeling, of speech, and encountering a conversation where I really feel like I'm on the edge of discovery. I guess that's what people refer to as this feeling of discomfort, is being on the edge of discovering things. They don't like the idea that they're thinking these thoughts, or you know, uh, they don't like the place that their mind is going to. And instead of finding understanding for that and embracing it, they try to blame that on whoever's there. Um, which I just don't do personally. Um, I'm on like the pro change bandwagon. Like I'm on the growth train. Those are things that I like and I love and I want more than anything. I want to be constantly feeling like I'm making progress. And that's the only way for me to do that. So I really question why those people who are so... I think there's like a complacency bias whereby people want to stick to whatever they think they already know and just hold on to that with everything they have as like a source of comfort. So it's all fear based. And I think that's what I struggle to come up against, is when I get reactions from people that are fear based. And they try to defend their feelings of fear. I think, isn't that just something you'd rather let go of and move on from? Like you want to carry that around. You want to keep carrying that around, that fear that you have. I don't personally like feeling of fear. It's not very pleasant. So if I do feel it, which obviously I do here and there, I'd rather get through it and get over it and get out of it as quick as I can. And it's not always trying to go back to the comfort or the thing that, or the way of being that you know. It's not always trying to go back to that is going to get you out of that fear. It's very often moving into new unknown territory and learning to realize that it's still safe. I think that's what it is people come up across situations of people that they feel are different to what they understand, and their immediate reaction is fear. And I think there's a false correlation between the idea that something that you see as something that you don't understand is equal to a threat. That's not true. It just takes understanding and experience and like more time being around different situations and scenarios until you feel like it's okay, and then it's the safety of those situations has been proven, and so you don't panic going into them. Okay, so that's already a good long shot. That I got some good thoughts out there. I'm gonna cut and then we'll see where we go. Feels a bit pointless going out sometimes, but still worth doing it. It's only just getting over the initial 30 seconds to a minute. Sometimes it even goes up to 5 minutes, but there's no real time limit actually on that. But it's just the initial what's the word now? It's the initial aversion to just being outside. But the only reason I went outside is because I was having an aversion to being inside. And although under some form of critical analysis by someone whose opinion has no importance whatsoever on my actions, they would say that there's no reason to be doing this. This doesn't mean that I'm going to listen to that or think about that at all as anything more than just a quick flashing thought of who might say what, as it really means nothing when it comes down to actually me making a decision for myself. It's all up to me. But there are these like sick, horrible people who do wish to control others in some way. And if you let the knowledge of their existences cross your mind, it should only be to realise that they have no authority over your thoughts, and neither should they. So, I'm just heading to shop and I'm going to grab a couple of energy drinks, then heading to town for a walk, and quite probably get a cup of tea. See what happens. Just rambling and gambling today. Not literally. Don't really do much gambling. Do very occasionally, but not a lot, very little. Anyway, nearly at the shop now. Best cup of tea you can get. It's got to be Greggs. Greggs do a great cup of tea. Why am I talking about this? I don't know. Yes, I'm a loser. I agree. Alright. So I've been doing all sorts of shit since the last clip. It's now 7:01. I'm still not feeling as much like vlogging. Had a lot on my mind. It would be good to relieve some of that, get some of that off my chest at some point. I'm not sure when that moment will be that I actually feel like sharing, or if it'll even help. But yeah, I guess I've got to keep up the video. Anyway, that's now the thread that never goes away, is always come back to the video as a place of peace and comfort. And basically what I've been doing since the last shot is, like I said, I went into town, got a cup of tea at Greggs, sat there on my phone for a bit, taking care of business, and didn't film anything. Eventually got bored of that, left, hopped on the train, got the train into Liverpool, doing more stuff. can't talk about taking care of business. On my phone the whole time. Again, didn't film anything. Had a lot on my mind. Then, after I finished doing everything I needed to do, I had a bit of a walk around for, I guess, 20 minutes or so. Just having a think, really, soaking up the vibes, trying to de-stress somewhat. All this shit going on that I can't talk about on the video. But I've been pretty stressed out with it. Not feeling my usual self. Happy and carefree. Not really been smiling at all today, to be honest. Probably quite the opposite. If anyone's seen me out and about, I've probably looked quite moody or pissed off or serious or whatever, but that's what it's been. Pretty much all day it's been that kind of vibe. I don't like it, but I've learned to understand it's unavoidable. I kind of appreciate it in a way, but that then in another way I really don't. I really wish everything would change faster for the better, if and when possible. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But when you're not feeling good and nothing seems to be changing, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do now. Apart from just keep TCB, taking care of business. That is what I do have to do. I've constantly got things that I need to do. I've not really mentioned anything up until this point, but obviously, like I explained before, you only see like a very short segment of my life in a day, and the majority of it is doing other stuff. And I'm also trying not to reveal information about other people. So I'm being quite cautious and quite careful. And I'm not just introducing the camera to situations. If I think, oh, this might be interesting to film, whatever. If I'm with people, I'm asking them, do you mind being on camera, or do you want to be on camera? And obviously, I'm only doing it with their consent. I'm only doing it if they want to. I do obviously get it that you're allowed to film in a public place. But that doesn't mean that I'm going around filming anybody apart from me. Just filming myself. These videos are just about me, and if there's anyone who I want to get in the video, I'll ask them to do it, and it will be with their affirmation that they'd like to do that. So, yeah, still having a bit of a hard time, but that's how it is. That's life, right? It's not supposed to be easy. You're not actually going to become anyone brilliant or beautiful or talented or respected or revered or cared about unless you go through difficulty. Otherwise, how are you going to have the strength to actually survive success? The baseline for most people throughout their life is, get not a lot every now and then, get a little. I'm talking about, opportunities, opportunities for experiences. I mean, we get opportunities for experiences all the time. Everyone does. But I've always had like I guess a sense of what I think is a good idea at any given moment, and obviously that changes all the time. In certain moments, what seems right at another time does not. Question is why? There's no answer. There's no why. No answer to the question why. Everything just is what it is. It's neither fair nor is it unfair. It's neither right nor is it wrong. It is what it is, and that's all you really need to know. So, I did promise some reading a couple of days ago, and I didn't deliver. So I'm actually going to do it today, a little bit more. Going to see how much I can actually crank out of This Is Your Brain on Music. Still working on that, and then I've got to start working through the other ones. So I was waiting until I was in like a reading kind of mood, which I now am. So I'll give you a bit more. All right. It's a shame that many people are intimidated by the jargon musicians, music theorists, and cognitive scientists throw around. There is specialized vocabulary in every field of inquiry. Try to make sense of a full blood analysis report from your doctor. But in the case of music, music experts and scientists could do a better job of making their work accessible. That is something I try to accomplish in this book. The unnatural gap that has grown between musical performance and musical listening has been paralleled by a gap between those who love music and love to talk about it, and those who are discovering new things about how it works. A feeling my students often confide to me is that they love life and its mysteries, and they're afraid that too much education will steal away many of life's simple pleasures. Robert Sapolsky's students have probably confided much the same to him, and I myself felt the same anxiety in 1979 when I moved to Boston to attend the Berklee College of Music. What if I took a scholarly approach to studying music and, in analysing it, stripped it of its mysteries? What if I became so knowledgeable about music that I no longer took pleasure from it? I still take as much pleasure from music as I did from that cheap hi-fi through those headphones. The more I learned about music and about science, the more fascinating they became, and the more I was able to appreciate people who are really good at them. Like science, music over the years has proved to be an adventure, never experienced exactly the same twice. It's been a source of continual surprise and satisfaction for me. It turns out science and music aren't such a bad mix. This book is about the science of music from the perspective of cognitive neuroscience, the field that is at the intersection of psychology and neurology. I'll discuss some of the latest studies I and other researchers in our field have conducted on music, musical meaning and musical pleasure. They offer new insights into profound questions. If all of us hear music differently, how can we account for pieces that seem to move so many people? Handel's Messiah or Don McLean's Vincent, Starry Starry Night, for example. On the other hand, if we all hear music in the same way, how can we account for wide differences in musical preference? Why is it that one man's Mozart is another man's Madonna? The mind has been opened up in the last few years by the exploding field of neuroscience and the new approaches in psychology due to new brain imaging technologies, drugs able to manipulate neurotransmitters such as dopamine and serotonin, and plain old scientific pursuit. Less well known are the extraordinary advances we have been able to make in modelling how our neurons network, thanks to continuing revolution in computer technology. We are coming to understand computational systems in our head like never before. Language now seems to be substantially hardwired into our brains. Even consciousness itself is no longer hopelessly shrouded in a mystical fog, but is rather something that emerges from observable physical systems. But no one until now has taken all this new work together and used it to elucidate what is for me the most beautiful human obsession. Your brain on music is a way to understand the deepest mysteries of human nature. That is why I wrote this book. This book was written for the general reader and not for my colleagues, so I've tried to simplify topics without oversimplifying them. All the research described herein has been vetted by the peer review process and appeared in refereed journals. The full details of Your Brain on Music are contained in the notes at the end of the book. By better understanding what music is and where it comes from, we may be able to better understand our motives, fears, desires, memories, and even communication in the broadest sense. Is music listening more along the lines of eating when you're hungry, and thus satisfying an urge? Or is it more like seeing a beautiful sunset or getting a back rub, which triggers sensory pleasure systems in the brain? Why do people seem to get stuck in their musical tastes as they grow older and cease experimenting with new music? This is the story of how brains and music co-evolved, what music can teach us about the brain, and what the brain can teach us about music, and what both can teach us about ourselves. 1. What is music? From pitch to timbre. What is music? To many, music can only mean the great masters, Beethoven, Debussy and Mozart. To others, music is Busta Rhymes, Dr. Dre, and Moby. To one of my saxophone teachers at Berklee College of Music, and to legions of traditional jazz aficionados, anything made before 1940 or after 1960 isn't really music at all. I had friends when I was a kid in the 60s who used to come over to my house to listen to the Monkees because their parents forbade them to listen to anything but classical music, and others whose parents would only let them sing to whose o- and others whose parents would only let them listen to and sing religious hymns, in both cases fearing the dangerous rhythms of rock and roll. When Bob Dylan dared to play an electric guitar at the Newport Folk Festival in 1965, people walked out and many of those who stayed booed. The Catholic Church banned music that contained polyphony, more than one musical part playing at a time, fearing that it would cause people to doubt the unity of God. The Church also banned the musical interval of an augmented fourth, the distance between C and F sharp, and also known as a tritone, the interval in Leonard Bernstein's West Side Story when Tony sings the name Maria. This interval was considered so dissonant that it must have been the work of Lucifer, and so the Church named it Diabolus in Musica. It was pitch that had the medieval church in an uproar, and it was timbre that got Dylan booed. It was the latent African rhythms in rock that frightened white suburban parents, perhaps fearful that the beat would induce a permanent mind-altering trance in their innocent children. What are rhythm, pitch, and timbre? Are they merely ways of describing different mechanical aspects of a song, or do they have a deeper neurological basis? Are all of these elements necessary? The music of avant-garde composers such as Francis Dumont, Robert Normando, or Pierre Schaeffer stretches the bounds of what most of us think music is. Going beyond the use of melody and harmony, and even beyond the use of instruments, these composers use recordings of found objects in the world, such as jackhammers, trains, and waterfalls. They edit the recordings, play with their pitch, and ultimately combine them into an organized collage of sound with the same type of emotional trajectory. The same tension and release as traditional music. Composers in this tradition are like the painters who stepped outside of the boundaries of representational and realistic art. The Cubists, the Dadaists, many of the modern painters from Picasso to Kandinsky to Mondrian. What do the music of Bach, Depeche Mode, and John Cage fundamentally have in common? On the most basic level, what distinguishes Busta Rhymes' What's It Gonna Be, or Beethoven's Pathetique Sonata from, say, the collection of sounds you'd hear standing in the middle of Times Square, or those you'd hear deep in a rainforest? As the composer Edgard Varese famously defined it, music is organized sound. This book drives at a neuropsychological perspective on how music affects our brains, our minds, our thoughts, and our spirit. But first, it is helpful to examine what music is made of. What are the fundamental building blocks of music? And how, when organized, do they give rise to music? The basic elements of any sound are loudness, pitch, contour, duration or rhythm, tempo, timbre, spatial location, and reverberation. Our brains organize these fundamental perceptual attributes into higher level concepts, just as a painter arranges lines into forms, and these include meter, harmony, and melody. When we listen to music, we are actually perceiving multiple attributes or dimensions. Before getting to the brain basis of all this, I'd like to take this chapter to define the musical terms and quickly review some basic ideas in music theory and illustrate them with musical examples. Musicians may want to skip or skim this chapter. First, here is a brief summary of the main terms. Pitch is a purely psychological construct related both to the actual frequency of a particular tone and to its relative position in the musical scale. It provides the answer to the question, what note is that? It's a C sharp. I'll define frequency and musical scale below. When a trumpet player blows in his instrument and makes a single sound, he makes what most of us call a note and what scientists call a tone. The two terms, tone and note, refer to the same entity in the abstract, but we reserve the word tone for what you hear and the word note for what you see written on a musical score. In the nursery rhymes Mary Had a Little Lamb and Are You Sleeping? Pitch is the only thing that varies in the first 7 notes. The rhythm stays the same. This demonstrates the power and fundamentality of pitch in defining a melody or song. Rhythm refers to the durations of a series of notes and to the way that they group together into units. For example, in the alphabet song, the same as Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, the first 6 notes of the song are all equal in duration as we sing the names of the letters A, B, C, D, E, F. And then we hold the letter G for twice the duration. Then we're back to the standard duration for H, I, J, K. And then the following 4 letters are sung with half the duration, or twice as fast per letter, L, M, N, O, and then ending on a held P, leading generations of school children to spend several early months believing that there was a letter in the English alphabet called LMNO. In the Beach Boys song Barbara Ann, the first 7 notes are all sung on the same pitch, with only the rhythm varying. In fact, the 7 notes after that are all sung on the same pitch as well in the melody, as Brian Wilson is joined by other voices singing other notes, harmony. The Beatles have several songs in which pitch is held constant and only rhythm varies across several notes. The first 4 notes have come together as 6 notes of Hard Day's Night. Following the lyric, it's been the first 6 notes of something. Tempo refers to the overall speed or pace of the piece. If you were tapping your foot, dancing or marching to the piece, is how fast or slow these regular movements would be. Contour describes the overall shape of a melody, taking into account only the pattern of up and down, whether a note goes up or down, not the amount by which it goes up or down. Timbre rhymes with amber, distinguishes one instrument from another, say trumpet from piano, when both are playing the same written note. It is a kind of tonal colour that is produced in part by overtones from the instrument's vibrations. More on that later. It also describes the way that a single instrument can change sound as it moves across its range. Say the warm sound of a trumpet low in its range versus the piercing sound of that same trumpet playing its highest note. Loudness is a purely psychological construct that relates, non-linearly and in poorly understood ways, to how much energy an instrument creates, how much air it displaces, and what an acoustician would call the amplitude of a tone. Reverberation refers to the perception of how distant the source is from us in combination with how large a room or hall the music is in, often referred to as an echo by lay people. It is the quality that distinguishes the spaciousness of singing in a large concert hall from the sound of singing in your shower. It has an underappreciated role in communicating emotion and creating an overall pleasing sound. Psychophysicists, scientists who study the ways that the brain interacts with the physical world, have shown that these attributes are separable. Each can be varied without altering the others, allowing the scientific study of one at a time. I can change the pitches in a song without changing the rhythm, and I can play a song on a different instrument, changing the timbre, without changing the duration or pitches of the notes. The difference between music and a random or disordered set of sounds has to do with the way that these fundamental attributes combine, and the relations that form between them. When these basic elements combine and form relationships with one another in a meaningful way, they give rise to higher order concepts such as meter, key, melody, and harmony. Meter is created by our brains by extracting information from rhythm and loudness cues, and refers to the way in which tones are grouped with one another across time. A waltz meter organizes tones into groups of three, a march into groups of two or four. Key has to do with a hierarchy of importance that exists between tones in a musical piece. This hierarchy does not exist in the world, it exists only in our minds, as a function of our experiences with a musical style and musical idioms, and mental schemas that all of us develop for understanding music. Melody is the main theme of a musical piece, the part you sing along with, the succession of tones that are most salient in your mind. The notion of melody is different across genres. In rock music, there is typically a melody for the verses and a melody for the chorus, and verses are distinguished by a change in lyrics and sometimes by a change in instrumentation. In classical music, the melody is a starting point for the composer to create variations on that theme, which may be used throughout the entire piece in different forms. Harmony has to do with relationships between the pitches of different tones, and with tonal context that these pitches set up that ultimately lead to expectations for what will come next in a musical piece. Expectations that a skillful composer can either meet or violate for artistic and expressive purposes. Harmony can mean simply a parallel melody to the primary one, as when two singers harmonize, or it can refer to a chord progression, the clusters of notes that form a context and background on which the melody rests. Okay, stop there for today. That was This Is Your Brain on Music. Got things to do now. Gonna drink some more wine. I enjoyed that bit of reading. I'd like to do some more. Just drinking same as what I last had. Last time I had a bit of a drink. Abbey Royal Cream. It's pretty nice. The only problem I had was that couldn't get the top off. Kept trying to screw it, but it wouldn't separate. So eventually I ended up just sticking a corkscrew in the top, piercing it open. That meant that I was only getting like a little tiny little dribble out of it. So I had to literally turn it upside down and then shake it like this. Just as it just dribbled out tiny bits, tiny little dribbles of wine. And eventually my cup was full. And the bottle was empty. So, basic shit. Thinking. 2 and 8. 4. I had something to eat just as I walked through the door. I guess I must have been hungry when I was on the way home. I didn't even notice. Sat next to this girl on the train, and legs were shaking the whole time, and I was thinking, oh, hope she's all right. But yeah, so when I got in the house, I what did I do? I finished off a tin of like beans with sausages that I opened, I think, yesterday, or maybe earlier today. So it's currently 7:46 in the evening. I've just finished off all my bread. So I'm gonna have to go grab some more bread. I think I overdid it last night. Eating. Kept waking up and then going downstairs, like making a sandwich. Going upstairs, eating it. I think I did that 3 times. But I think one time I made 2 sandwiches. So I think I had 4 sandwiches. And then when I woke up, I felt really ill. And I was thinking, I've eaten too much. I've eaten too much like processed food. Bread. Nothing's more processed than bread. I'm not really sure what people mean when they say processed food. It's like, doesn't every kind of food go through a process? Obviously, like you buy broccoli, it's not processed per se, but it's been through some kind of process. Like the growing process. What does processed food mean? I don't care enough to actually find out the answers to that question. I'm more just saying things, thinking out loud, just like Ed Sheeran. So, I'll tell you a story about last time. Maybe not last time, but I went to London and I stayed in King's Cross in a hotel there. And I went with a close friend of mine and we shared a room in the hotel. And we had a good time. We saw some of the sights of London, and this person had been to London before but never spent any significant amount of time there, meaning they'd been there but as like a changeover for a plane or train or something, right? So it was kind of like, quote unquote, their first time in London, which I think is a pretty cool experience to have. Like your first time, that's kind of exciting. I remember the first time I went there. Um, or do I remember? I'm actually not sure what the first time I went there was. I may have been there before this, but the first time that I remember was when um, I went to Buckingham Palace because I was invited to go to Buckingham Palace. And that was pretty amazing. But then later down the line, where I went to actually live in London, that was when I really got to discover the many, many, many sides to it and many of the brilliant parts about it. Now, it is one of the hardest working places in the UK. I would say the number one most hard working place in the UK. Everybody there works like a horse non-stop from the beginning of the day to the end of the day every day. Basically, literally everyone. That is the overwhelming majority of people that are in London. It's all just work, work, work. And that's quite brilliant. And it creates a brilliant place. When all those people are dedicated to their craft or their profession, that means they're developing their skills. becoming better and better. That's a good thing. And that creates this atmosphere of motivation. And you feel it when you get there. It's a very motivating place. It picks you up. And you, a lot of the time, feel as though you're just being carried along through the city, riding the wave of the rush of the energy that is alive and apparent. Now, saying that, there's also lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of tourists, and they don't know where they're going. They go up and down the stairs the wrong way, stand on the wrong side, get in the way. I find myself at times becoming a little irate with people who are blocking the path in London. That happens to me fairly often. Is I always want to be able to get through. I think it's a very reasonable thing to be able to ask of anyone, is to say, don't block the path through for anyone. Always allow the path to be open for people to get past. Why would you possibly want to block that path to stop other people from being able to go where they need to go and get where they need to get to at the pace that they want to go at? People who actually intend to block the path they have very questionable intentions. Why would you possibly want to do that? You're obviously not a good person. And I try to make sure I never get in the way. I'm sure there's been times where I've been lapsing in my concentration and I have accidentally got in the way, and I would always try to be super apologetic and say, I'm so sorry, and get out of the way quickly, so that people can get through. And I think that's the right attitude to have, not to act like for some reason you should be able to block the path of another person or something like that. I'm not sure what this story has become now. It's me now ranting about people on the underground who get in the way. Shit. Anyway. Maybe I won't get some bread, actually. Maybe I'll just make some rice instead. And then use that like bread. And then get some bread tomorrow. Could go to the shop that's a bit further away. But the closer one is going to close very, very soon. And so I would have to leave right now. I'm not sure I really want to. I'm listening to David Gilmour from Pink Floyd talking in an interview. And he's quite interesting to listen to. Just as I found Roger Waters quite interesting to listen to. Thing is, not the biggest fan of Pink Floyd's music, to be honest. It's not really for me. Maybe it will be one day. Maybe I'll find a love or a liking for it. But from what I heard, nothing really catches my attention. David Gilmour, though, seems like an interesting person. And fairly humble and knowledgeable. He's a good talker. So I've been liking listening to this interview, or these interviews. I've watched a couple now. Now, for the rest of the evening, I'm going to keep doing some more reading. Not sure if I'll get it on cam. We'll see. We'll find out. I don't really care how long these videos are. I really don't. If I make like 5 hours in a day, great. What's wrong with that? Good. Amazing. The more the merrier. Wrong context for the phrase, but I don't mind. So they can be as long as they are. Doesn't matter. It's about how much I want to film and how much I feel like filming. That's exactly how much I will do. So for the next little while, let me think. Yeah, for around about the next 3 weeks, I'm going to have a lot more to do. So I won't really be going anywhere. Particularly interesting. I could just be filming more around the house and stuff. And I may well be filming a lot less, but to be honest, it's even on the busiest of days, I've still managed to like get hour-long videos. So it doesn't really seem to matter how busy I am. I'm never so busy that I can't squeeze in a bit of video. And if anything, this is actually what I do as a little away time and alone time. So even if I am with people, I can step away for a bit and just go talk to the camera. So it's actually quite refreshing like that for a little break. So as you can see, my hair is fairly long right now. Obviously, could be a lot longer. It has been a lot longer before. My hair has been really quite long on many occasions. So right now, compared to what it has been, it's not super long. But also compared to what it has been, it is also quite long because I've had a shaved head many times, and that's quite often what I go for. Is when I go to hairdressers, or if I do it myself, or if I get asked someone else to do it, I'll just go for a pretty much a zero. So if you don't know, a zero is basically using a shaver without the guard, or with the lowest possible guard that you can use. So that means it's the shortest possible shave that you can do without using a razor blade. It's the shortest possible shave you can do with an electric shaver. So I was thinking about cutting the hair a while ago, but eventually gave up on that idea. And then just let it grow. I'm okay with it. It doesn't seem to stop anything from happening whatsoever. And your hair doesn't affect your life in any way, so it doesn't particularly matter. It doesn't particularly matter whether you're being judged on your style or not. It doesn't mean anything to me. People can say whatever they want or think whatever they want. I just think they're idiots. It's like they can say whatever they want, and they can think and say whatever they want, and I can think and say whatever I want. So I say that they're stupid, basically. Insult their intelligence. That's obviously the best way to respond and react, maturely. It's just insult other people's intelligence. It's called a joke. I'm not sure if you understand those. Anyway, so I've got to think up some more things to do for the videos that'll be more interesting. There's definitely ideas that I've got going on, but I would say they're not very good, and they need work. My videos are most enjoyable for me to actually make and put together when I'm just following the organic thread of whatever it is I feel like doing in each and every moment. And that's what I do. Like I've said so many times, I'm not making this video for you. I'm making it for me. I'm not going to keep saying that over and over again. I'm doing this because it's what I want to do. I'm not doing it to make something that you would like to see. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. No one is forcing you to watch this. So I don't need any stupid comments. So, I'm not interested in gaining any viewers. I'm not interested in increasing my subscribers. I'm making a video because I find it interesting to make a video, and because it's a relief to vent my feelings, whether they are joy or frustration or love or hate or anything in between. This is what I'm doing at the moment. So you can think whatever you want. I really don't care. Like I said, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. So ideas for what to do, I think they really have to be intimately connected to your current feelings that you're having in the moment. So you have to sort of look around you and think, well, what do I want to do right now? And this is the piece of information that you're not really thinking about because you're a thick little fucking prick, stupid cunt. You're missing that planning a future video of any kind would be something that you think of doing in the moment because that's how you feel that you want to respond and act or react in that present moment. So everything is about the present moment and about your connection to the present moment. So planning for the future would be done so out of the enjoyment of how that feels in the present moment. And if that's not enjoyable to plan, then don't plan. Just be completely spontaneous. That's obviously the best way to live, is just spontaneously follow your instincts and to see where that leads. And obviously that's going to put you into situations that will where you're going to learn a lot. That's really good, obviously. Um, so I'm just looking around now. I don't want any food right now. Not quite finished this wine off. I'll keep drinking this. And actually, I'll try reading a bit more. Let's get a bit more out. Obviously, I can do this as many times as I want because it's my video. Okay. I'll be elaborating on all of these as we go along. The idea of primitive elements combining to create art, and of the importance of relationships between elements, also exists in visual art and dance. The fundamental elements of visual perception include colour, which itself can be decomposed into the three dimensions of hue, saturation and lightness, brightness, location, texture and shape. But a painting is more than these. It's not just a line here and another there, or a spot of red in one part of the picture and a patch of blue in another. What makes a set of lines and colours into art is the relationship between this line and that one, the way one colour or form echoes another in a different part of the canvas. Those dabs of paint and lines become art when form and flow, the way in which your eye is drawn across the canvas, are created out of lower level perceptual elements. When they combine harmoniously, they give rise to perspective, foreground and background, and ultimately to emotion and other aesthetic attributes. Similarly, dance is not just a raging sea of unrelated bodily movements. The relationship of those movements to one another is what creates integrity and integrality. I don't even know what that means. A coherence and cohesion that the higher levels of our brain process. And as in visual art, music plays on not just what notes are sounded, but which ones are not. Miles Davis famously described his improvisational technique as parallel to the way that Picasso described his use of a canvas. The most critical aspect of the work, both artists said, was not the objects themselves, but the space between objects. In Miles's case, he described the most important part of his solos as the empty space between notes, the air that he placed between one note and the next, knowing precisely when to hit the next note and allowing the listener time to anticipate it is a hallmark of Davis's genius. This is particularly apparent in his album Kind of Blue. To non-musicians, terms such as diatonic, cadence, or even key and pitch can throw up an unnecessary barrier. Musicians and critics sometimes appear to live behind a veil of technical terms that can sound pretentious. How many times have you read a concert review in the newspaper and found you have no idea what the reviewer is saying? Her sustained appoggiatura was flawed by an inability to complete the roulade. Or I can't believe they modulated to C-sharp minor, how ridiculous. What we really want to know is whether the music was performed in a way that moved the audience, whether the singer seemed to inhabit the character she was singing about. You might want the reviewer to compare tonight's performance to that of a previous night or different ensemble. We're usually interested in the music, not the technical devices that were used. We wouldn't stand for it if a restaurant reviewer started to speculate about the precise temperature at which the chef introduced the lemon juice in a hollandaise sauce, or if a film critic talked about the aperture of the lens that the cinematographer used. We shouldn't stand for it in music either. Moreover, those who study music, even musicologists and scientists, disagree about what is meant by some of these terms. We employ the term timbre, for example, to refer to the overall sound or tonal colour of an instrument. That indescribable character that distinguishes a trumpet from a clarinet when they're playing the same written note,
or what distinguishes your voice from Brad Pitt's if you're saying the same words. But an inability to agree on a definition has caused the scientific community to take the unusual step of throwing up its hands and defining timbre by what it is not. The official definition of the Acoustical Society of America is that timbre is everything about a sound that is not loudness or pitch. So much for scientific precision. What is pitch and where does it come from? This simple question has generated hundreds of scientific articles and thousands of experiments. Almost all of us, even without musical training, can tell if a singer is off key. We might not be able to say whether she is sharp or flat or by how much, but after the age of 5, most humans have as well a refined ability to detect tones that are out of tune as to discriminate a question from an accusation. In English, a rising pitch indicates a question, a straight or slightly falling pitch indicates an accusation. This comes from an interaction between our exposure to music and the physics of sound. What we call pitch is related to the frequency or rate of vibration of a string, column of air, or other physical source. If a string is vibrating so that it moves back and forth 60 times in 1 second, we say that it has a frequency of 60 cycles per second. The unit of measurement, cycles per second, is often called Hertz, abbreviated Hertz, after Heinrich Hertz, the German theoretical physicist who was the first to transmit radio waves, a dyed-in-the-wool theoretician. When asked what practical use radio waves might have, he reportedly shrugged, none. If you would try to mimic the sound of a fire engine siren, your voice would sweep through different pitches or frequencies as the tension in your vocal folds changes, some low and some high. Keys on the left of the piano keyboard strike longer, thicker strings that vibrate at a relatively slow rate. Keys to the right strike shorter, thinner strings that vibrate at a higher rate. The vibration of these strings displaces air molecules and causes them to vibrate at the same rate, with the same frequency as the string. These vibrating air molecules are what reach our eardrum, and they cause our eardrum to wiggle in and out at the same frequency. The only information that our brains get about the pitch of sound comes from that wiggling in and out of our eardrum. Our inner ear and our brain have to analyse the motion of the eardrum in order to figure out what vibrations out there in the world cause the eardrum to move that way. Although I said that air molecules vibrate, other molecules will too. We can hear music underwater or in other fluids if the water or other liquid molecules are caused to vibrate. But in the vacuum of space, with no molecules to vibrate, there is no sound.
Chickity brum bum brubbity brim bum brabbity brim bum brackety dum dum chickity bum bum chicky chicky bum bum chickity bum bum brackety bum bum chickity bum bum chicky chicky bum bum chickity bum bum brappity dum dum chippity bum bum. Harpatum chickity bum bum brackety bum bum chippity bum bum brappity batty brabbity dooby jabba jibby jum jum jackety bum bum brackety bum bum brackety bum bum brackety bum bum brackety bum bum boom. Bumba da brackety bum bat bribbity dum bum backety bum bum bribbity dum bum backety bum brat babadity bum bum brickety bum bum brickety backety brum brum brackety brum brum brackety brum brum brackety brum brum brackety brum bum brackety brum. Brum brum brackety 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 brum brum da brackety dum dum chickety brum brum brackety brum brackety bum bum brackety brum brum 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 brackety brum brum. Brum brum brackety brum brum brackety brum brum brackety brum brum da brackety brackety king the brum the good kung brackety bugudug brackety bum. Beatbox Brother. Tiki 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 bow. So I'm just watching a bunch of shit YouTube videos. There's so much absolute fucking rubbish out there on the internet. You know, I thought I'd add to the pile with my videos.
But I'd like to say mine are fresh, innovative, and very creative. Just to blow my own trumpet. Anyway, now that I've said that, here is a tin of beans. See, fresh, innovative, and very creative beans. I don't fucking know what to do now. I really don't. It's 9:30. I'm thinking like these fucking dudes now. You know, these dudes. These dudes that are out there. The content hunters. Cunters. Content hunters? Cunters? I don't know. That's how I've started thinking. This whole thing of like, I have to get some great things on video. Oh! I mean, it would be great if I could, but what? But everything you want is not always ready, available, and there for you to find. And you got to keep going through the shitty, crappy crapness. Time and time again. Putting up with all these fucking retarded idiots. And still thinking about what is a good video that I can make. My video is going to be me talking. That's what it's going to be. So I hope you're not expecting anything more, nor anything less. So, where do I really need to go to find something that is like worthy of being filmed? Where do I need to go? Where do I need to go? Where do I need to go? You know what the answer is? Where do I need to go? Here. I need to go here. Where I am. This is where I need to go. And here I will find something that is worthy of being filmed. You know what that something that is worthy of being filmed is called? Me. Oh, I must be driving you nuts. So, I am gonna find something interesting for me to do. Now, I'm not sure what. I've just been sat here watching music videos. No, that's not true. I don't know why I said that. I've just been sat here watching YouTube videos. And damn, there really are like a lot of quite stupid people that are out there doing the YouTubes. Which is fine with me. Just I really think if you've got like stupid opinions, like keep them to yourself. You don't need to say your thoughts out loud. You can just think them, right? Now, it's very different to be putting a video up there of all your thoughts and ideas, because at any point a person can comment, and at any point they can just switch it off, watch something else, or watch nothing at all. However, it is very different in real life. And in real life, if you've got stupid opinions, you really should just shut the fuck up.
because the only other people that are interested in your stupid thoughts, the other idiots are just as stupid as you. I'm not one of them, and I'm not interested in any sort of interaction whatsoever with those kinds of idiotic people. I genuinely question on a constant basis, like, what is going on? Like, like in their heads. These people, the idiots. It's as if they themselves have been replaced with. I would like to think something better, but that's only with like hindsight that you can see. Well, whatever that was, that's not you. I mean, I always tell people that, like, whatever that is that you think that is that's you, that's not you. So if you can see that, then it's not you, is it? Right? Like this, if you have a thought, instead of saying a thought out loud for no reason and looking like an absolute freak, you can just see that and recognize that and say, that's not me. If I can see it, that means I cannot be it. I am that which sees, not that which is seen. It's so easy to understand consciousness. These dipshits, these morons, are so thick and so stupid. They don't get it. But maybe they will, at some point. Maybe they already do. Fingers crossed. I mean, you see how fast things can change sometimes out there in the world, and you go, wow, from one day to the next, these people have actually improved. So you've got to give fair dues where fair dues are deserved. When I say fair dues, I mean fair praise. So yeah, it's just a lot of stupid people out there, like, constantly coming up against idiots, stupid people, and still trying to create a good video and I guess have a good time as well, but then having to think that you have to give some kind of response to these people who are just not very clever at all. That they're very, 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 like, simple-minded, like, thick people, And I am wasting my time on them, and people always say, don't waste your time on them. But I will waste my time on them. Because you know what? It's not a waste of time, actually. To spend your time, transforming an idiot into a slightly smarter person, is probably not a waste of time. It probably means that I'll be better off as a result of being around people who are slightly more intelligent. So I'm not trying to get too deep into the negative sort of loop of what creates all those headaches of this, like, repetitive stress of thinking, why is that person doing that and all that, and just that's more stupidity. It's like you want to respond to stupidity with more stupidity. So you want to see stupidity and add stupidity to it. Okay, well, that's not a great idea, is it? You have to actually be the person who's willing to make the effort to say, okay, you're an idiot, but let's try and do a little bit better, yeah? Anyway, there's going to be more soon, okay? Alright, so gonna make some rice, like I said earlier.
I didn't bother going out to get any bread, so I've got nothing that's like the staple, you know, background sort of food. You know, like the how do you describe it? Kind of food that's just something you can always add things to. Oh, it's raining a little bit now. Yeah, just like bread, as in like, you know, if you have bread in, you can always make something in a sandwich, right? Same with rice. It's like it's a I don't know what the right word is. Foundational. It's a foundational food. You can always add something to rice, right? So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So we need a pan. Grace is upon us. Open your heart. This is love. This is love. Grace is upon us. Open your heart. This is love. Oh, yeah, so here's what I'm doing. Putting some rice in a pan with some water, and then take some sea salt, chuck a bit of that in there, then turn this on, turn that up to say 7, and then that's it. That's how you make rice. Very, very nice. And now you just wait for a while. I don't know what's going on outside. Not a lot, really. There was an ambulance out there before, just sitting outside my house. I don't know why, but they were sitting there with the engine running. So I gotta find more things to talk about. To keep things interesting. I might start trying to do more of these shots where I sort of back off a bit, and then I can use my hands a bit more, get a bit more dynamic. Maybe that'll be good. I don't know. Maybe it needs to get even further away than that. I'm not sure. Let's head back. Let's see. How far away do you have to go? This far away? Oh, the shot's a bit high. So turn that down, come back, and then that's it. Now you can see me, my whole body, pretty much. Bang. Grace is upon us. Open your heart. This is love. Just watching a video of Muji G on YouTube. I've watched him quite a lot. He talks about what people would say are like spiritual matters. People just come to him and they have queries and they ask him questions, and he just sort of gives them guidance. And sometimes it's quite useful, and sometimes it's not. And I think that is the way with everything, right? I would encourage all my viewers, if there are any of you, that if you're not getting anything from this video, please stop watching. Best possible thing you could do
I have no reason to want you to watch if you don't want to. And I wouldn't like to encourage anybody to think that there is any reason that they have to watch anything at all, because they don't. There's lots of much better things to do. Now, the internet is great and all, and there's lots of good content on there. And there's loads of great videos to watch. And there's loads of great discussions happening, but there's also lots and lots of people who are doing way, way, way too much of the old internet stuff. And they really need to get out and engage with the world and life and people and actually try to be, follow the definition of what a person used to be. A person used to have a place in society, and they used to have to function amongst people, and people are becoming less and less like that, and now they're just staying inside and looking at the computers. But the money will run out, and you will need to find something to do out there in the world, and you will crave love and affection from other human beings, and there's no way to get that through a screen. It is just not the same. You have to actually go out and try and find it in the world. So if you are a bedroom dwelling virgin of any kind, please go outside and find a life for yourself. More than just looking at a screen. Now, there's nothing wrong with looking at a screen, because we're all doing it all the time, right? And right now, we're all doing that more than we ever have previously in the past. People are looking at screens all day, every day now. But that has got to be balanced with just as much real life interaction and real world experience as you can get. You may not want to get a 9 to 5, but it may give you a whole bunch of people skills and other kinds of skills and experience that you'll really benefit from, and will actually make you much better off as a person, much more capable. Your abilities will improve, and you probably find yourself actually feeling a lot better than when you're just staying inside all the time. It's not good for you. So there's my advice. All great and all good to be here watching this video, or anywhere else watching any other video. And it has a time and a place, but please don't overdo it. It's a silly move to make. And if you want to make that mistake and overdo it, I mean, you can see the kind of future that comes out of that. It was all perfectly encapsulated in the film The Matrix, where people are just like, they've atrophied into these shells of a person, and they're now just locked into pods, being drained and being used for all their energies. And that is a very real possibility if you give too much of your time and too much of your energy away to the blood-sucking vampire leeches that are trying to steal your energy through the internet. So, there you go. So I have no idea what I'm going to do with this rice. I'm just making it, and then it's going to be there. So it's going to be there for consumption with anything at any point when I want it. I'm not super hungry right now. I'm not thinking about making food for right now. I'm making the rice so that when I am hungry later, then it's quick and reasonably easy to put together a nice little meal. Now I've got loads of options of things to go with it, and no shortage of choices, which is really good. It was one thing that keeps me sort of calm and happy and at peace. It's having a variety of different foods. If I have that, I feel pretty good. There's nothing I like less than eating the same meal all the time. And I've always got to have plenty of coffee readily available. So I have all that stuff. I made sure I got all that stuff when I was thinking clearly and spending my money wisely. Was just stocking up and making sure that the shelves of the food cupboard are nicely stocked, because you do end up relying on that stuff as and when the time comes. And I've started to realize more than ever now that everything has a place, everything has a purpose, and that it's all about time. When you can't see the place or the purpose for any sort of decision that you make or consider making or thought process that you go through, it's just a matter of time before that all makes sense. And you need to go out and find more pieces of information that make the pieces of information that you're working with, that you're not making sense out of, make sense. Because it's like putting together a puzzle, but you're missing like 10 of the pieces, and those pieces are quite vital, and they let you see the bigger picture. You may have all these pieces of the puzzle, and everything sort of comes together in some way, but it's not quite making sense as to like, oh, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And all that stuff, and you might need the pieces that just clear up the picture to make it obvious as to why you're doing what you're doing, how it's happened. And there's lots of influences that are coming down a sort of chain reaction of one thing after another that are just leading and leading and leading and leading and leading and leading to a place where realization occurs. And when realization occurs, then you become freed from the burden of your own ignorance. And we all have to carry the burden of our own ignorance at points in our lives, but it's so much better when you are becoming freed of that, to then look back and realize, oh shit, like you've probably made some mistakes based on your ignorance, and you now have to go sort of and pay back to the people that you have wrongfully discriminated against based on your ignorance, or you have treated with disrespect, lack of care, or attention based on the judgments that protect you from the realization. Because to be protected from your own realization, there always has to be these thick layers of judgment that come in order to continue your sense of a separate sense of self in your identity from the other person, from other people that you see. So other people that you see out there in the world, you see them as different only because you do not recognize what it is in them that is in you. And when that union occurs and the realization comes, that's when that layer is dissolved of this distance between me and you. And that separation of you and I starts to become less and less and less. And that's where the clarity comes, and that's where you find more peace of mind. But with that merging of the personalities from their distinct individuality, and losing your sense of personal self in that, you now become somebody who you will no longer recognize, and have to learn to recognize your own self. And in learning to recognize your own self, learn to recognize where you haven't previously recognized that self in others as yourself, and have actually placed judgment upon those people undeservedly. Like, now that you've come to the point of realization, you start to know intimately that what you've done was not right, and now you have to change your ways and go and try and fix those issues that you've created. So that's the kind of process that people have to go through, you or I or anyone or everyone, and it's very specific. But if you think about that, if you resonate with that to any degree, please leave a comment sharing your personal experience of anything that you've understood, and see if you make anything make sense. And I'd love to hear your experiences. All right, so I finished off that wine before. Now I've started on another one. And we got Hardy's Nottage Hill Cabernet Shiraz 2022. I'm seriously not making any great claims as to like this is some fantastic wine or anything. It's just a wine that I bought from like the local corner shop, and I literally just grabbed whatever was there. So I don't need to hear whatever it is you've got to say, okay? Gonna do a little bit more reading now. Same book as before, so only got 12% battery. I want to keep filming because what I'm listening to is just absolute fucking shit, like garbage. It's actually pissing me off, to be honest. So, I'm gonna keep reading because I genuinely think I'd prefer to hear the sound of my own voice. So, let's see if I get that balanced. No. Okay, that'll do. Right, more of this. Your brain on music. This is your brain on music. Okay. Shit, I'm not sure I'm up to. Keys on the left of the piano keyboard strike longer, thicker strings that vibrate at a relatively slow rate. Keys to the right strike shorter, thinner strings that vibrate at a higher rate. The vibration of these strings displaces air molecules and causes them to vibrate at the same rate with the same frequency as the string. These vibrating air molecules are what reach our eardrum, and they cause our eardrum to wiggle in and out at the same frequency. The only information that our brains get about the pitch of the sound comes from that wiggling in and out of our eardrum. Our inner ear and our brain have to analyze the motion of the eardrum in order to figure out what vibrations out there in the world cause the eardrum to move that way. Although I said that air molecules vibrate, other molecules will too. We can hear music underwater or in other fluids if the water or other fluid molecules are caused to vibrate. But in the vacuum of space with no molecules to vibrate, there is no sound. The next time you're watching Star Trek and hear the roar of the engines in space, you'll have some good Trekkie trivia to share. By convention, when we press keys nearer to the left of the keyboard, we say that they are low-pitch sounds, and ones near the right side of the keyboard are high-pitch. That is, what we call low are those sounds that vibrate slowly and are closer in vibration frequency to the sound of a large dog barking. What we call high are those sounds that vibrate rapidly and are closer to what a small yip yip dog might make. But even these terms high and low are culturally relative. The Greeks talked about sounds in the opposite way, because the stringed instruments they built tended to be oriented vertically. Shorter strings or pipe organ tubes had their tops closer to the ground, so these were called the low notes, as in low to the ground, and the longer strings and tubes reaching up towards Zeus and Apollo are called the high notes. Low and high, just like left and right, are effectively arbitrary terms that ultimately have to be memorized. Some writers have argued that high and low are intuitive labels, noting that what we call high-pitched sounds come from birds, who are high up in trees or in the sky, and what we call low-pitched sounds often come from large, close to the ground mammals such as bears, or the low sounds of an earthquake. But this is not convincing, since low sounds also come from up high, think of thunder, and high sounds come from down low, crickets and squirrels, leaves being crushed underfoot. As a first definition of pitch, let's say it is that quality that primarily distinguishes the sound that is associated with pressing one piano key versus another. Pressing a piano key causes a hammer to strike one or more strings inside the piano. Striking a string displaces it, stretching it a bit, and its inherent resiliency causes it to return towards its original position. But it overshoots that original position, going too far in the opposite direction, and then attempts to return to its original position again, overshooting it again, and in this way it oscillates back and forth. I'm going to read that bit again, I didn't understand anything it said. Pressing a piano key causes a hammer to strike one or more strings inside the piano. Striking a string displaces it, stretching it a bit, and its inherent resiliency causes it to return towards its original position. But it overshoots that original position, going too far in the opposite direction, and then attempts to return to its original position again, overshooting it again, and in this way it oscillates back and forth. Oh, it doesn't make any sense to me. Each oscillation
covers less distance, and in time the string stops moving altogether. This is why the sound you hear when you press the piano key gets softer until it trails off into nothing. I don't understand what I'm reading at this point, so I'm going to stop. I'm really not enjoying this book, I can't lie, and I've got other books that I'd way much rather read that are about the lives of people. This is just like technical fucking rubbish about music that I have no interest in whatsoever. I'm way more interested in reading the Oasis Supersonic book, the Jim Morrison book, the Gordon Ramsay book, the Story of the Streets, Mike Skinner book, Acid for the Children by Flea, or Wild Thing, the book about Jimi Hendrix. I'd much rather read those. So I think I'm gonna give up on this. This is your brain on music book. I'm not finding it interesting whatsoever. The kind of books that I like to read are about people. That's not necessarily about like science and subjects and things like that. There might be a time when I find that interesting to some degree. But generally speaking, I'd much rather read a good book about a person, and even better if it's the story from their perspective, like the story of their life. That's what I'm interested in. More than anything, the kind of books that I like to read are autobiography. Alright? I'm going to keep doing a video whenever I want, whenever I feel like it. I'm not letting anybody else tell me when I should stop or when I should start. I'm going to start as much or as little as I want to. And if at any point I want to stop making videos, I'll just stop. But I'm going to do that because I want to. Not because you want me to. Not because anyone wants me to. I've no interest in other people's opinions when it comes to what I'm doing. And whether they think I should or should not be making a video. You have no case for even thinking to suggest that I shouldn't be able to make a YouTube video for some reason. That's just simply incorrect. It has nothing to do with you whatsoever. You have no choice in it, and you have no influence over it. There's nothing exploitative about that, because I'm not including anybody else in my video at all. Apart from me, I'm the only person in my video. So, whatever you think about that, it has nothing to do with you whatsoever. You can write a comment if you want. All I'll do is block you as a user from the channel, and then none of your comments are going to appear. No one's going to read them. No one's going to care. And if you want to keep watching, that's because you're a viewer. Now, people who actually make YouTube videos themselves, they don't criticize like the way that you do, because you're someone who has no experience doing this. That's the only reason you have any criticism to make. That's the only reason you feel that, you know. Alright, I'm clocking out for the evening. I've had a mostly quite shit day. Been pretty pissed off a lot. I've already explained that. But I'll be back again tomorrow, and hopefully it's going to be a little bit better, more productive, more positive. But if it's not, I'll still be back anyway, because now I am in the way of starting to say it's every day. Signing off.
See you tomorrow.